Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are now live for today's careers session. You are all very welcome. So thank you so much for joining us. It is an absolutely beautiful day here in Dublin. The sun is shining, so I really hope that it is shining where you guys are as well. Just while everyone's joining the room and getting settled, I'll just introduce myself first of all. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jade. I'm a careers coach here at the Code Institute. I do a lot of work on the Careers Hub and am getting to know lots of you through your careers one-to-one consultations, which is where we review your CVs, your cover letters, discuss LinkedIn profiles and your approach to job searching. So often during these sessions, with students, I hear them express feelings of self-doubt and lack of confidence and imposter syndrome. So even though they have a portfolio of excellent projects and a wealth of knowledge and experience from previous careers. So I really believe that Megan's session today is very much needed. And we are very grateful to have her here to share her expertise with us in this area. So look, just quickly, just a few things before we get started. We have an hour dedicated here today. We will keep it nice and prompt as always. This is an interactive session, so we really encourage you to ask any questions. We will try and answer some questions throughout, but also we will have the 15 to 20 minutes at the end of the session just dedicated to answering any questions we haven't covered. If you could just try and keep those questions in the Q&A tab instead of the chat, we can just keep a better eye on them. This session will be recorded and you will have access to it in the coming days on the Careers Hub. For anyone who's not registered in the Hub, you can do this by sending us an email at careers@codeinstitute.net. Also, just remember this is a networking session. So we're always talking to you about building your tech network. So this is a really great place to, sort of connect with fellow students. So I'm going to share my LinkedIn profile. Megan will do the same. And please also, I encourage you to do it too. So look, now that's done. I would like to hand you over to Megan. Megan is our careers psychologist, our content executive, webinar guru, and all-round wonderful human. She has an honours degree in psychology and has studied imposter syndrome extensively. She is a fountain of knowledge and has prepared an excellent presentation here for us today. So we will get started. Please hand it over to Megan. Thank you.
Thank you, Jade. And thank you for helping me host this seminar again.
No problem.
I'm sure most of you know Jade by now. Otherwise, make sure you get to know her by booking your one-to-ones. And speaking of one-to-ones, we do have a seminar tomorrow. This is to help you prepare for your one-to-one and just get to know how to utilize the time well and get to know a bit more about it. Regardless of what stage you're at, Jade will be sharing sign-ups for that seminar during today's seminar. So make sure to sign up if you can. So hello, everyone. As some of you may know, my name is Megan. I'm the Careers Content Executive here at Code Institute. I have a big passion for psychology and all things mental health since doing my honours degree in psychology a couple of years back. Every single part of the course fascinated me, and it always has. So much so that my big goal is to pursue psychology further, and all go well, pursue a career as a counselling psychologist. It's just quite hard in Ireland, but never in a million years did I think I'd be able to bring my degree into practice here in Code Institute. But I'm so glad that I've been given the opportunity, and even if I help one person today, I'd be thrilled. So that's enough about me. Let's kick off the important stuff. So imposter syndrome. I literally have imposter syndrome right now. This is my second time doing this seminar, and I was, again, so nervous all morning like the last time, scared that I'd mess up, that I wouldn't do the topic justice. And even though it went so well last time, but for the entire duration of even my degree, I've been this way. So trust me when I say I know how it feels. And even after finishing my degree and getting my results, and I did quite well, a lot better than I expected to, I still doubted my abilities. So today, we're going to do a slight introduction into imposter syndrome. We'll talk about the feelings surrounding it, common signs of imposter syndrome, what else do we have there? How to deal with it, the bottom line, and then we'll leave some time at the end for Q&A. I am just going to mention again, for those of you that might be late joining, if you have any questions throughout the seminar, just pop them into the Q&A section of the chat and we'll get to them at the end. Jade is also going to monitor the chat throughout, and she might ask a couple of questions to make sure we get to as many as possible. All of the general chit chat can just stay in the normal chat section, like Jade said. So let's kick off. So what am I doing here? I'm not good enough. I'm a total fraud. I can probably guess that the majority of you felt this way at some point, and that's why you're here after all. And that it's completely normal. Up to 82% of people have as well. In 2019, there was a study done by Bravata, and in this study, they reviewed 62 studies on imposter syndrome, and they found that anywhere from 9 to 82% of people reported having feelings and thoughts along those lines. Now, early research did suggest that imposter syndrome only impacted high-achieving women, but more recent research has shown it affects both men and women equally in any profession. So whether you're a graduate student or a CEO of a multinational, there's really no escaping it. And I suppose there's a lot of different reasons why they felt it affected. It was perceived only women suffered from imposter syndrome, but I think it was mostly because women were led to believe that their only purpose in life was to stay at home, mind the kids, cook and clean. It was very much an old-fashioned mentality. So it was extremely rare for women to go against the grain and do the opposite. And I think without realizing, that almost became a social norm. Whereas nowadays, women are just as equal as men in terms of jobs, pay, rights, and everything. So then they seemed to be more research into men also. So I really think it was just a lack of education and a lack of research of both genders. So here in Careers, we just wanted to get the conversation going about imposter syndrome, because it's something that comes up so often with students and alumni, regardless of their gender, and particularly when they're beginning their job search. But the aim of the seminar is to help everyone, just help everyone feel supported and reassured in those thoughts and feelings they may be having while embarking on this new journey, especially if you're a career changer. And we just want to normalize it. If you go back and look at any of the alumni seminars, imposter syndrome comes up all the time. And I think it should help you acknowledge those feelings even more so, especially because the guests on these seminars are all people who've been in your position and have maybe struggled with something you're struggling with, or struggled with something you're excelling in, and you're all human at the end of the day. And they got through it and out through the end. And I think that would be a real push to hear for anyone struggling right now, to just try your best to push past these barriers. So hopefully throughout this seminar, we can show you some ways to cope with it and some suggestions we may have to keep those feelings at bay and just channel your energy into more beneficial things. So imposter syndrome is also known as imposter phenomenon, fraud syndrome, imposterism, to name a few. The actual definition of imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Another study, I have a slide at the end with all these studies mentioned. They're really, really interesting if you want to go back and look at them yourselves. But this study was done in 2021, which is very recent, by Ravichandran, and that showed nearly 70% of individuals that experience feelings of imposter syndrome at some point in their life. This can be a result of like a new academic or professional setting, or like yourselves, a career change, which would apply to all of you in some way. Now, imposter syndrome is not considered a psychiatric disorder in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, but psychologists all over the world and others acknowledge that it is a very real and specific form of intellectual self-doubt. A lot of the time, imposter feelings are generally linked and or accompanied by by anxiety, and many therapists actually recommend CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, to treat imposter syndrome. So like just hearing that alone, it should really solidify those feelings for you and show you that just how real it is. And I know a lot of people are probably skeptical about imposter syndrome, but it's like I said, it's very real. There's plenty of research to show that. So it's important to recognize some people do suffer from it and just be considerate of that. And if you're one of the lucky ones that don't, I'm jealous. Like it would be the exact same as if someone say had depression or anxiety and someone tried to tell them otherwise. It's so relevant to their students. Like it comes up all the time, like I said. So we feel that there is more than enough reasons to talk about it. And like I said before, normalize it and help in any way we can. I'd also like to mention, while I think of it, the Imposter Syndrome channel on Slack, I definitely recommend joining. There's really great, friendly people on there who are more than happy to talk about it and help you get out of a funk you may be in. And, the thing about imposter syndrome is it's such a slippery slope. Like once it starts, for example, like those feelings of insecurity, they can come from the new or these unknown environments, which lead to then lower self-confidence and belief in your own abilities. And then to counter those feelings, you end up working even harder and putting more pressure on yourself and holding yourself to even higher standards that just they're not sustainable in the long run. And this can then eventually just take its toll on your emotional well-being and your performance. So it really does have a knock-on effect in more ways than one. So that's why it's important to nip it in the bud as soon as you can, which I know is easier said than done. Next slide.
I've just shared that for you, actually, Megan, in the chat, the link to the Imposter Syndrome channel on Slack. Okay,
Perfect.
So it's in there, guys, if you'd like to see it.
So just follow that link and join the channel. Even just have a read of a couple of the messages that are already on it. But like I said, it's a really nice bunch of friendly people who all feel the same and know what you're going through. But yeah, thank you, Jade.
No problem.
So the feelings surrounding imposter syndrome. No matter how much people praise you for all your achievements and compliment your work, and even if you have the actual results in front of you to solidify your hard work, you constantly downplay your success and believe it's just down to pure timing or good luck. And like I said, like about my college results, I thought it was a complete fluke, even though my average grades throughout the year, it made perfect sense that I got that result. And like, even if you pretend to, you don't truly believe them or believe you earned it. And you end up living in constant fear that others will eventually see you the way you see yourself, like as a fraud. And because you live in the constant fear of being caught out, you're constantly striving for perfection in everything you do. And you just, it's setting really unrealistic standards. And then you end up feeling like guilty or worthless when you can't achieve them. As well as that, you'll just be overwhelmed and generally burnt out from running yourself into the ground so often, like emotionally, intellectually, physically, everything. So, you know, it's tough, and like it's hard one to combat or to recognize. And I'm going to talk now in a couple of minutes about the common signs of imposter syndrome. But I think a big thing is if you can recognize that these feelings you're having are imposter syndrome, that's a big step in the right direction. So the common signs of imposter syndrome. One is an inability to realistically assess your competence and skills, attributing your success to external factors. That's like I was saying about putting it down to good luck or timing. Berating your performance, just always finding the bad in everything you do. Fear that you won't live up to expectations, when chances are the only one with the unattainable expectations of you is yourself. Sabotaging your own success. This is like putting off applying for jobs because you assume there'll be someone better and just generally not putting yourself out there. Self-doubt. Imposter syndrome can stop you from sharing the great ideas you might have. Setting very challenging goals and feeling disappointed when you fall short. Again, it's you setting these unattainable goals. Nobody else expects you to move mountains and be 100% at everything you do. So that's important to remember as well. I think it's very, very important, especially when you're on an accelerated learning course like the diploma. I think it's really important to celebrate the small things. It gets you through. Like, you know, if you just set yourself a little list of realistic goals and the satisfaction of ticking them off, knowing that you've got there, it really does make it that little bit more seem more doable.
We actually had a student come in and do a seminar with us, and she was sort of talking. She explaining that she suffered greatly from imposter syndrome, and she sort of was explaining that, you know, she felt as though she didn't know anything. You know, she got completely overwhelmed, you know, with all of her code, and in the course, and she really said that, you know, the way that she had to sort of calm herself was just to focus on what you do know. Start with what you do know. Stop sort of getting overwhelmed by all of the stuff you're not quite sure of yet. So to focus on your code, make sure you understand every line of it and why it's there, and then progress on. So it was a really it's like what you're talking about, Megan, with the sort of short-term goals. It's like bringing it back to basics, stop sort of getting lost in the overwhelming sort of stuff you don't know, focus on what you do know, and make sure you understand every line of it and why it's there. It was nice advice from her. And
it comes up every time we have an alumni seminar, and like, you know, these people they've gone through the course, they're sitting in like their maybe their first or even second roles in tech, you know, really happy, doing really well, and it's like it's comforting to hear that they felt the exact same, because it's like, okay, well, if they got there, I'll do the same. It's just a case of being able to push past them. But the advice they give, it's brilliant. I'd really recommend, if you can't attend them live, I'd recommend catching up on the Careers Hub and watching those ones.
Absolutely.
But it's great watching them live because you can ask them a couple of questions and they're more than happy to help and answer anything you have.
And it's really good to hear as well, as time goes on, those feelings of imposter syndrome begin to subside, or do they stay there? Or, what do you think, Megan? Do they?
I don't think they really do.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're not realistically evaluating these feelings you're having. Like, it's important to note that the feelings of imposter syndrome, they're not restricted to highly skilled individuals either.
Okay.
And since there's no way of us knowing how well our peers are doing or how difficult they find certain tasks or how much they doubt themselves, there's no easy way to dismiss feelings that we are less capable than them. And like I mentioned earlier, and again, the alumni centers, like, just, you probably attend these seminars and look at these people and be like, oh wow, like, look at the position they're in, how well they're doing, everything they've achieved for themselves. But like, you're in the position that they were in not long ago, and it's important to remember that. And it's just to be able to put a name on these feelings will make you feel relieved. And once you recognize it and begin to collect and like revisit any positive feedback you may get, like, it's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So now we're going to talk about how to deal with it. So all the patterns we've spoken about so far, about feeling like a fraud and in turn working harder to do better and keep up appearances, they won't do much to change the feelings you have about yourself, but they will actually make you feel worse. So I've gathered together some healthy strategies that you could use to help combat these feelings, and just in more a productive way. So firstly, you need to acknowledge your feelings. A problem shared is a problem halved. And this is so true. Like, I know myself, and probably you too, Jade, like, when you start a new job, like, you're guilty of not asking for help a lot of the time because you don't want to burden someone else, but you just end up wasting time trying to figure it out yourself. And if you can recognize these feelings and begin to open up about them, that's a great start. And like,
absolutely, like, if you're, especially like I started remotely, as I know you did, Megan, as well, like, there's a whole lot of time where you're spent that you are, starting your new job in your own space, and feeling very much overwhelmed by what is going on around you. And you're kind of unsure as to who to reach out to ask for problems, ask problems to. So I think that what I learned initially, the first couple of weeks, I was sort of trying to figure it all out myself. Then I went, what, there's certain things that you can't figure out. We're going to have to find ways of connecting with the right people to be able to open those channels of communication in order to be able to sort this out. And straight away you feel your shoulders relax, that that you're not alone. Yeah,
it's great. Like, and I think that's a big thing with like remote learning and remote working and stuff. Absolutely. Is that it's not as easy like when you're in an office being able to just tap someone beside you and be like, here, like, do you know what we're meant to do here? Do you know what way I should go about this? And but like, no one expects you to go in and being able to do everything. So asking for help is a big thing. Absolutely. And like, firstly, like, you could start by talking to a friend, a mentor, a relative about your feelings and worries, and they can help you just get an outsider's perspective on the situation and realize that you're probably made a mountain out of a molehill. And secondly, Slack. I've already mentioned the Imposter Syndrome channel, but I cannot put enough emphasis on how amazing Slack is as a community. If you even just search the word Imposter Syndrome on Slack, you'll see hundreds of messages and posts from students, alumni, and even some Code Institute staff. And lastly, open up to peers. This could encourage them to do the same. Open up is brave. Like, the thing, like, no bad can come from it. Like, while focusing on others may seem counterintuitive, trying to help others in the same situations, you will actually help build your own confidence in your abilities. And believe it or not, like, it is just a confidence boost. If you help one person, like, today I'll come out of this, and if one person writes in the chat and said, thanks so much for this, it really helped, I'll be delighted with myself because of how much I doubted myself beforehand. So you really need to remember those little things, especially when the feelings creep back in again. But yeah, and while something, sorry, Jade, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's a bit like that whole idea of sort of, looking through Instagram, and all of a sudden everybody else seems to be completely okay, and they're living these perfect lives, and, have all of these friends and doing all these wonderful things. And you sort of feel, like you haven't nailed it as much as them. So I think that, it is very much a good idea to stop comparing yourself to others, and realize that people often only portray that really wonderful side of themselves, and that isn't actually the truth. So in terms of your code, your ability, it's just important. It's important to reach out for help, but it's also just to bring it back to yourself. Don't compare yourself. People are on their journey. You're different. Your journey is different, and that sort of bring it back to those basics again.
Definitely. And I touch on that later on, but yeah, comparison is the thief of joy.
Absolutely.
And if there's some people on this call that may not experience imposter syndrome themselves, you might know or love someone that does. So catching them out in that like modesty ploy, it's important that you recognize it's not modesty. It's just these fraudulent feelings. Like imposter syndrome is like having a really terrible, awful best friend in your head telling you all the bad things about yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's important to surround yourself with friends and who will tell you the opposite and support you. Okay, so building connections. Try to avoid doing everything yourself and being too independent, because in actual fact, the urge to do everything yourself will only make things worse. Like we said, you might feel like a burden, but just make sure, again, to reach out to others. That includes your mentors or the students and even staff, and us in careers. And Code Institute is fantastic. Like, it offers so many pillars of support for students. And I'll talk about them a bit more at the end, and different things you could do and get involved in. But I really recommend making the most of the supports while you have them. And reaching out and making connections will create a network of mutual support. And remember, you can't achieve everything alone. And this will apply to all aspects of your life, not just the diploma. So learning how to ask for help is something so important in life in general. So trying to get used to it now will benefit you in more ways than one. And one major thing that I'd like to mention are hackathons. Hackathons are run on a monthly basis at this stage, and this will just give you a great chance to work as part of a team, to challenge yourself, to make connections, and more importantly, have fun and learn from each other. And, if you make some connections within your team, that could be a start in who you feel comfortable reaching out to. And I love being a facilitator on the hackathon teams, because it's great seeing how everyone works together. And because the way they're split up, it's like people on the team are in all different levels, but they all help each other. And a lot of people end up surprising themselves. They join, they're like, oh god, I've only done like one project and I don't know if I can contribute. And they do so much, and their other team members are so grateful and give them the praise they deserve. So I would really recommend getting involved in hackathons. And
absolutely. Sometimes I think as well with hackathons, it's brilliant in terms of if you've been working on your projects throughout the course and say you haven't done one, because quite often in one-to-ones I meet students that have got all the way through the course and not done a hackathon, and they're sort of trying to start applying for jobs, and they're really, really uncertain. They may have had a break in between graduating and starting to look for work. And I always say it's never too late to do a hackathon, but it is more effective when done throughout the course. But even if you've left it until the end, you can still join in. And also it's a really nice way when you've sort of had a break in your code, in your coding, to get back into those that team environment, be able to share, be able to practice your code, be able to work on it. It's a great space to be able to build your confidence prior to applying for job roles. It's a great way to be able to talk about your collaborative experience that you have in an interview. It's another example of the way that you can work, and it just is incredibly confidence building. So it's highly recommended by us at all stages throughout the course, but also most definitely that you've tried to complete one before the end, or else do one straight after you've finished.
Yeah. It's kind of a bit of a 360 moment for alumni coming back as well.
Absolutely.
They land their roles and they're still coming back to them because they're so much fun. But, like that, you could come back and see someone that was in your position a couple of months ago. And it's a great feeling to be able to help them and encourage them. And, it's so relatable when they're coming back and chatting about their time during the diploma and to get where they are.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic.
Good.
So challenge your doubts. When these feelings come to surface and you're feeling fed up and unmotivated, you need to take a step back and ask yourself whether any actual facts support these beliefs, or is this just your mind getting the better of you? Is it that awful best friend in your head trying to put you down again? Like say you're having a really tough time wrapping your head around HTML or CSS, or you feel behind on your project submissions. This might trigger those feelings and they start eating away at you then, and you just start to doubt whether you should have even applied for the course. And this is when I'd recommend start doing the following. So first of all, look at how far you've come and what you've completed so far. Again, keep note of your progress, celebrate the small wins, and make sure to remind yourself of them all the time. And remember, this is a really challenging area of expertise. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Like I done the 5-day coding challenge and I struggled so much, and that's just the basics. So I can't even begin to imagine how difficult the actual course is, but you're all getting through it. And just applying for the course is an achievement in itself. So well done. And again, ask for help. Slack. So even if you just start interacting in small ways first, like reacting with an emoji to some posts, maybe answering a question for someone, and then eventually you'll feel comfortable enough to ask your own questions. And I say it all the time, the only stupid questions are the questions not asked. Remind yourself of the last time you felt this way about a certain challenge, and even with all self-doubt, you still managed to get it done, and more than likely done a lot better than you expected. And this is why realistic reflection is so important. The worst thing you do when you're feeling like this is keep your head stuck in the laptop and trying to get on top of things without coming up for air. Like just get up from the laptop, make a cup of tea, go for a walk, do something that's not work, and switch off for half an hour and just reflect on these things. And I can guarantee you'll come back and realize it's not so bad, and the thing that could have been like getting in your way is right in front of you. So last but not least, avoid comparing yourself to others. Like I said, comparison is the thief of joy. This is something I can confidently say we are all guilty of. Like Jade said, the whole Instagram versus reality thing, It's important to remember everyone has unique abilities as well. Your only competition should be yourself. And I know, again, it's easier said than done, but don't be worried about what everyone else is doing or what stage they're at. You may not excel in every element of this course or your career for that matter, but that's perfectly okay. You don't have to. Almost nobody can do it all. Actually, probably I could guarantee you nobody could do it all. You may look at certain people and presume they have it all under control and that they're on top of everything, but you need to remember that that's not always the case, even when it appears to be. And it's also so important to note that a lot of people that do struggle with imposter syndrome feel the need to keep up appearances and make sure from the outside looking in, everyone's perfect and that there's no issues on their end. And what you're seeing is exactly that. So it is okay to need a little extra time to learn something new, even if someone else seems to grasp that skill immediately, and vice versa. What you excel in, someone it might be someone else's struggle. So you don't put yourself down for not being exceptional at everything. So this is a list of the supports, the extras that Code Institute offers, and they would all be beneficial for you to get involved in. Firstly, there's a couple of things to do daily, like booking your mentor sessions, booking your one-to-one with the careers, getting involved and spending some time in the Careers Hub, getting involved in different channels on Slack and connect with fellow learners and seek help, but also give help where you can. And then weekly, you can obviously do all the daily things as little and often as you want, but on a weekly basis, you could get involved with the live weekly career seminars, as well as the hiring partner tech sessions. This will just give you a chance to ask any questions you might have, network with other students and alumni, and also people from the tech industry. And it'll help massively with making things seem a little bit less daunting. No matter what stage you're at, it's still great to get involved in them. And, just so you're ticking away at it. And like the hiring partner seminars, I think a lot of students think that they shouldn't attend those until they're actually looking for a job. That's not the case. If you just want to go in and get a feel for a company, ask a couple of questions about them, get some interview tips, they're really, really good.
And they're often so incredibly transparent about the way in which they hire too, and what they think, and they explain the key things that they look for when they are hiring students. So like, for example, if you were going to, apply for a job and you think, oh, I'm not sure if I've got all of these skills that they are necessarily looking for in this job spec, I don't think I'm good enough for this. We had sort of a webinar and a hiring partner webinar, and it was from Tynes, which is a really great company. And the engineering manager was discussing the way, that they sort of see candidates coming in at very early stages, and they come in and they're trying to show absolutely every single thing that they know. And he was explaining, that it's a more effective way is just to show what you know, but to express that you are so keen to learn more and eager to learn more. I don't think, and he was sort of saying, places don't expect you to know everything. You're very sort of clearly applying for a junior role. Your CV is tailored to not tell any lies. Okay, so you're speaking honestly on your CV, so they're aware of your abilities. They're aware of that. But for you, a very key thing to do when you are a junior developer trying to look for work is to like as he was explaining, sort of focus on your desire to learn more and express your interest. So things like that come out in hiring partner webinars, where you have a hiring manager telling you that, your interest and your passion and displaying that is more important than necessarily having all of the skills on the job spec.
Yeah. And I know that job specs are they annoy me sometimes because of how vague they are, but also of how many requirements they have, because no company expects you to tick all the boxes. And like that, in those alumni seminars as well, you get to hear how all these people end up landing these roles that they have. And sometimes it's just like, there was one girl in particular, the company she applied for, there was no roles being advertised. She just reached out and was like, I think your company's great. I'd really love to work there. Here's my CV. Like, if a position opens up, they literally like opened up a position for her because they loved how enthusiastic she was and, what she was offering to the team. And she's there a year now. She's getting on really well. The company love her. It's little things like that. But again, back to the alumni webinars, like, they're things you wouldn't even think of until you hear someone else saying it. But it's, don't get too bogged down on the job specs. But I've already mentioned hackathons, but like I said, they're happening on more or less a monthly basis at this stage. And just in case anyone jumped in late or anything, please get involved with at least one hackathon during your time here. It's an opportunity to work as a team, learn from other students and alumni, have fun, build an amazing project and showcase it, but also see your own potential. And like I said before, it doesn't matter what stage of the course you're at, just get involved. And like Jay said as well, employers love to hear about your projects. It's a great talking point in interviews. You can really sell yourself, and it's something that you're confident talking about because you worked on it throughout. So it's really easy to get a flow of conversation going then, because it's something the ins and outs of. You've literally built it from scratch, and they'll really love that.
And they also love to hear, like, if something went wrong, in a team environment, how you fixed it. It doesn't, projects don't always go to plan. So as we know, so it's really important that you're able to sort of talk about the way that it went wrong, what you decided to do, how you work together as a team to solve that problem. So it's another great way of using hackathons to sort of show off your ability.
Exactly. And a lot of teams actually go further with their projects after the hackathons and, develop them even further. It's incredible. Like, I'm always so shocked at what's produced in 5 days. Like, but just remember, your comfort zone will kill you. But lastly, Elevate. This is a networking event held on a yearly basis. Last October was the first time, and it was such a roaring success. It is an online one-day event. I think we had about 580 learners, I think it says it there, and 150 hiring partners last year, which was incredible for the first year. And like, during the day, you can set up meetings with hiring partners or even other students. They're just little 15-minute slots if you have any questions about upcoming roles or even just advice. They're more than happy to discuss it with you. And remember, they're not interviews. They're just like an informal chat with another person. We also host insight sessions with tech leaders from different companies that you can join and listen to, as well as breakout rooms. I was actually lucky enough to be involved in a breakout room with Jim Morrell from Community last year. It was brilliant. And during the breakout room, one of the topics of discussion was Imposter Syndrome. We had some really great alumni again on chatting about it. But yeah, it's, if you could, I think the recording of that's on the Careers Hub as well. Again, worth a listen. But look, I know it's a lot, and I don't want to overwhelm you with it all. But they're fantastic supports and opportunities that I just wanted to make you aware of them. And remember, like I said, celebrate the small stuff. Enrolling in this course alone is an achievement, and getting involved in these daily, weekly, monthly tasks will help subside these feelings in small ways. Like, you know, just to put your energy into something more beneficial rather than getting yourself wound up over something that's just in your head. Like, make note of your progress. Progress is the biggest measure of success, but it does happen in stages. And once again, give the encouragement back, because it's a great feeling to know you're helping those behind you too. So I'm sure you're probably sick of me harping on at this stage. So I'm going to wrap it up here, and we'll get to some questions. But the bottom line is, success doesn't require perfection. True perfection is practically impossible. So failing to achieve it doesn't make you a fraud. Offering yourself kindness and compassion instead of judgment and self-doubt can help you maintain a realistic perspective and just motivate you to pursue a more healthy, like, development and self-growth. And the most important thing to take away from this is that you're not alone. And I really hope that all of you can take something back from it. And thank you so much for sitting and listening to me for the last, 40 minutes almost. And thank you to Jade for being a fantastic co-host. I hope I did the topic justice. And I hope you all walk away from this today with a new outlook on these feelings and some key takeaways that you're going to try and implement to help yourself and feel better in any way you can. So I'll go into the chat now. I actually haven't been in at all. There's loads of messages here. Oh, I actually haven't put my LinkedIn in. I'll pop that in now. Jade might.
I'll start reading out the Christiana's just sent a message in, just saying that she can relate to the imposter syndrome and she has feelings always, especially since she completed the course. Looking for jobs become a struggle, as the thought of, are you sure you're good enough? Will you be able to perform well enough on the job, etc. And this weighs her down and deters from applying for the job. I hope I helped her actually through her careers consultation to work through these issues as well as what she's learned today. But even during work experience, she discovered that she didn't know anything. She was overwhelmed with all the new technologies and tools. And then that she was left on her own. So, you know, that... I was left on my own most of the time. So my question is, are employers and companies aware that employees go through this issue? And are they well equipped to help a fresh graduate or new employer deal with this?
Yeah, big time. Was it Tynes, Jane, that was mentioned in that seminar? The guys that came back, they actually spoke about imposter syndrome. It's, you know, I think everyone's aware. And like, from like the first slide, you know, like, it doesn't matter what stage you're at or like what kind of level of success you're at. Mm-hmm. You know, it affects everyone. Like, they're more than capable of, like, they're humans at the end of the day. They can sympathize with you, and, you know, it might not be a case that you have to go to the highest person in your company, but like, you've managers, you probably have mentors, and because you're going in on a junior role, there's definitely someone that you can reach out to. And it's just the case of not reaching out, or you don't even have to get into the nitty gritty of it, but just say, look, I'm struggling. I don't know if I'm able for this. Like, could you give me some help, or maybe talk me through it? And they'd be more than happy to. But, you know, like Jade said, your one-to-ones, they're great. And tomorrow's session will go through that a bit better for you. But I'd really recommend, you know, utilizing those supports as well, and just getting yourself prepared for going into this new role in tech. I think it's quite overwhelming for a lot of you as well, because you're going from something completely different into this new role, that it can just be like a complete mind-boggling experience. So just go easy on yourself and ask for help. Employers, they're not going to fob you off and say, get on with it. You know, they want you to do well as well. So I think the most important thing is just to reach out to someone that you feel comfortable reaching out to, or even just popping an email and saying, could I grab you for a 10-minute chat tomorrow? I just want to run something by you, or check that I'm doing something right. They'll respect you for coming forward and asking for the help.
Absolutely.
And I just see a message there from Stuart. He said he was at Elevate last year, but I didn't know what to do. Felt so out of my depth, so didn't speak to anyone. Feels like I'm begging when reaching out to an employer. Not at all, Stuart. We actually ran a seminar last year before Elevate, and it's kind of just to break it down for you and show you how, like, what's expected of the day and what you can do for the day. And we'll run it again this year before this year's one. So I'd recommend just keeping an eye on the career channel for that. We'll post the sign-ups closer to the time. Obviously, it's only June now and it doesn't run till October. So just keep an eye out for that, or watch the pre-recorded one on the Careers Hub from last year. But like, there's so much you can do. And you know, all the people that have signed up, especially the hiring partners, like, they're all at their booths, and if they don't have the time, like, you can put in a request for a meeting with them, but if they don't have the time, they'll that's, you know, it's unfortunate because there's only so many meetings they can hold in a day, or they might be doing another talk or something. But, you know, put yourself out there. Like I said, it's only 15 minutes. It's not an interview. It's just a little informal chat, like, even just to ask them questions about the company, or if they've any junior roles coming up, or the fact that they're at Elevate is them showing their interest in graduates coming out of the diploma. So just keep that in mind.
There's also a question, just when is Elevate Careers event? It's October, isn't it, Megan?
Yeah, it's October. We don't have a date finalized
yet.
Yeah, but it's October, and it will be going again this year because last year was brilliant. But there's some bits on the Careers Hub from last year that you can have a look at if you want to get a little taste for things.
Brilliant.
So I'm just I'm through my diploma course. So Christina asked, I'm through with my diploma course, but interested in taking part in a hackathon. So how do I know when the next one is coming up? So there's a hackathon channel on Slack. I'll post the link to it in the chat so you can join. Just keep an eye on that one. Jim is brilliant. He posts in well in advance when signups are like coming or starting, and then he'll obviously post when signups have actually began and like how long they're running for and stuff, because the numbers are capped. So just keep an eye on that channel, and all updates on hackathons and stuff will be posted there. But it's great. You can even see like previous messages about last ones. Like, I always find it funny when Jim posts about new signups, some people pop in and they're like, oh, I just signed up, this is my 7th hackathon, and I'm like, oh God, I'd love to have something that I enjoyed that much. Like, it just looks like so much fun. So I hope that answers your question, Christina.
I've just shared that link actually in the chat as well. Okay, the hackathon channel.
Thank you, Jade. When our course is finished, will we still have access to Slack and Elevate? Yeah, Stuart, you will indeed. So Elevate and Slack is open to students and alumni, no matter what stage you're at, because a lot of people, when they finish the course, they'll start their job search then, which is completely normal. So it's great to be able to still get involved in these things, and you still have access to the Careers Hub as well, for an indefinite amount of time. We're not like, at the moment you have access to them forever, but we would really recommend utilizing it earlier on if you can. Like, even if you wait until you finish your diploma, but then getting stuck into it, because, you know, once you start working away at it, you can start applying for roles and getting yourself out there.
And also, it's just a great way of being able to, you know, knowledge is key. If you've got all of your documents prepared, if you've engaged in the Careers Hub, if you've watched through our Hello World webinars, if you've learned about the way to talk about your diploma in industry, you know, all of these things that we sort of go through in the masterclasses on the Careers Hub are there to sort of build your knowledge, to improve your confidence, improve being able to speak about yourself, talk about, you know, yourself in an interview situation. The more knowledge you have, the more confident you become. Hopefully those feelings of imposter syndrome will relax, you know, a little bit if you have prepared well. Okay, so preparation and knowledge is key. So engaging with Careers Hub is really important right the way through, I think. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There was another message there from Sean. I started my first job 6 weeks ago. I'm just doing Project 4 with Code Institute. The tech stack is completely different: Java, Spring Boot, AWS, etc. I've been finding it hard to ask for help, so it's good to know that's normal. And Sean, well done. Like, you know, so many students are getting jobs before they even finish the diploma, which is incredible. But, you know, I think you just need to remember that, you know, you've obviously gone through the interview process. You've obviously met with people within the company. And even though you didn't completely match the tech stack and it's different, they still saw potential in you. And you know, they chose you out of everyone else that interviewed. And I think you really need to keep that in mind. And like, they're aware that this tech stack is different to you and different to what you learned. So, you know, they obviously think that you're capable, but they're definitely expecting you to pipe up and ask a couple of questions. And like, it's that eagerness to learn that they love, you know.
Yeah.
They can't ask for more, really. You know, you want to learn. So the fact that you're reaching out and asking, they'd be delighted.
Well done.
Sometimes
it's about finding the right person too. Do you know,
Yeah.
like, you have to find your person. It's the same in any job you start, in any industry. You have to sort of find your person that you can connect with, that you feel comfortable asking questions to. So it may not necessarily be clear initially, but you will find that person.
Yeah, definitely. Will there be access to the LMS also after the course? Greg, the LMS is in the part of your diploma will disappear after you've completed the course, but the career sub will still appear on the LMS for you. You'll still have access to that. So I hope that answers your question. There's some more down here.
Yeah, there's a question there from Zangir, hanging on to the notion of referring to friends and others. I've experienced the imposter syndrome on the extreme end of my career, not coding. I've tried to reach out to friends and family, and although I receive support from them, the tiny voice inside my head keeps saying that they are just saying it because they love you. It's not actually true. And when I tried to receive help from others, they said they don't know you. Oh, the voice said they don't know you, but if they did, they wouldn't say so. I was just hoping to maybe get some help in these situations where I feel so overwhelmed and just can't get myself to start work.
That's a tough one because, you know, again, there's only so many times that I can tell you and everyone else can tell you that, you know, it is just this voice in your head. But I think that's you need to work on that. You need to, you know, make a list of your achievements so far.
Yeah, the strengths.
How far you've come, everything you're good at. And I know it's just human nature. We're so bad at complimenting ourselves or hyping ourselves up. But, you know, and no one else is going to see this list. Just even if you make it in the notes on your phone, a little list of everything you've achieved so far, and just like reflect on that and be like, okay, well, I've done all this. I've done really well at it. I've achieved it. And then make a little list of what's to come. But even the tiniest little things, like, I got up this morning and I done a bit of code, or I went for a half an hour walk today. It doesn't have to be all about work, I think, or like coding or anything like that. I think you just need to, I always find myself, if I make a list at the start of the day and at the end of the evening, if I can tick them off, I'm like, oh, that was a great day. I got 4 out of the 5 things done. And it might be something simple like put away the washing that's been sitting up in your room for 3 weeks, or, you know, little things like that. But I think once you start implementing those little, like, I don't want to say it's self-care, but like, you know, just encouraging yourself and giving yourself a little pat on the back every now and then, it'll make it easier for you to believe these things that other people are saying. But, you know, your family and your friends, or like the people, I don't know who these other people are you reached out to, but the fact that you think they're just saying it because they love you or they don't know you, but if they did, they wouldn't say so. It's literally, again, it's just that voice in your head, and you need to just recognize that as imposter syndrome and try bash through that barrier that they have up for you at the moment, because your friends and your family, they just want to support you. They just want to, you know, encourage you and get you past this rut that you're in. So maybe try that. And look, if you're still feeling a bit overwhelmed, honestly, any of you, feel free to reach out to me on Slack. I'll be more than happy to respond. And maybe we could try implement a couple of other things if you're still feeling a bit bogged down with it. But I hope that helps. There's a couple of more here, so I'm just reading through them.
It's just one there from Greg.
Okay. Oh yeah, having family commitments interrupt learning, and if it was for a period of time, I found it hard to get back into it. I host weekly catch-ups for a cohort group. Attendance can vary, but it's a good way to find out how others are doing. I find myself thinking that I'm always behind, but we are all different stages. As we have 3 sessions with our mentors and we have tutor support for the first hour, it takes longer after that time. Is there other resources that can help, one-to-one resources and guidance support? Yes, Greg, there is. So like I mentioned, the one-to-one with the careers team as well, fantastic. Not just saying it because we're the careers team, but I'd recommend attending the seminar tomorrow. It'll give you a feel for what you'll cover in that one-to-one. And there's so many resources on the Careers Hub that like you said, you have family commitments and it can interrupt learning and stuff, but like all these seminars are recorded and uploaded onto the hub. So if you only have half an hour in the evening, go on and watch a half an hour of one of the seminars that you think might help you, and then the next day try to get the other half an hour in. Or the last 15 minutes of them are usually just a Q&A anyway, so you could look at it that way. They're probably 45 minutes, and just break it down and just make it more achievable for yourself. But they're like the support in Code Institute is incredible. Like, I didn't have anything like that in college, so definitely utilize it. But I'm glad that you're using your mentor sessions and your tutor support as well. But yeah, I think the next step for you would probably be the career supports and try and get stuck into them, Greg, and see if they help you. But well done. Like, the calls, the catch-ups with your cohort groups sound amazing. And it's great that that you're seeing what different stages everyone's at, and get help from each other as well. So that's a great step anyway. So, great, thanks. Okay, there's another one from Greg. I was very hard on myself over the first 3 projects, and then I had to pull myself to one side and say, a couple of months ago, I didn't know, sorry, that just moved. I didn't know what a div or span was, and now I've completed 3 projects in new languages that I didn't know before. So we should be kind to ourselves and give credit to what we have achieved. Definitely, Greg. And, I couldn't have said it better myself. Always look back, and that realistic reflection is so important. Like, whether you've just done one project or you're only starting and you've just done the 5-day coding challenge, like I said, enrolling in the courses and achievements, to celebrate that. And you're all here to better yourselves and get into these amazing new careers, and you're all doing so well. And
stepping out of your comfort zone is so scary. Learning new things is so scary. Straight away, as soon as you step out of that comfort zone, you just it feels your body has a physiological response of fear. It's like, I want to run away. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And actually, it's sort of being able to acknowledge it, sort of understand it, and realize that you can achieve it. And like you say, Greg, you look back on it and you did it, and you feel such a sense of achievement in yourself when you have broken out of that comfort zone and overcome that fear. And it is very, very possible.
Every now and then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's
a question from Sean. Can we still use the one-to-one even if we have a job? Sean, I'm not sure what you mean about that question, but if you don't mind, would you email careers? It's careers@codeinstitute.net, and we'll get back to you about that.
But I think Sean's got Sean was saying that he started a job 6 weeks ago, but he's doing his 4th project. So you can, Sean, because you can use, if you haven't had your CV reviewed, even though your CV's obviously really good to get you that job, you can still go through it again, just to make sure in terms of preparation for what's going to come next. You know, absolutely, that's possible. Okay,
and also to add all this new tech stack that you've been working away on as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good advice. Perfect.
Ophelia, how can I be added to careers? So Ophelia and anyone else that doesn't know, so the Careers Hub is on the LMS. If you email careers@codeinstitute.net, one of us will get you enrolled straight away. It'll appear on the LMS beside where your actual diploma is, and you'll have access to everything then immediately, all the pre-recorded seminars. But the one thing I will mention is that we'd recommend following it in the order that's laid out. Like it comes in sections, and particularly section 1, we recommend you completing that before you book your one-to-one with Jade. This will just run through like your CV, your cover letter, your LinkedIn, and just making sure you've gone through everything with those, have them in the best nick you can get them in. So then the session with Jade, that can kind of be spent, perfecting it and making it unique to you as well. So I hope that helps. So I'm just in the chat section here. Sean,
I shared
that job. That's amazing, Sean.
Sorry, I shared that the offer as well, Megan, for the webinar for tomorrow.
Yeah, perfect. That's the sign-ups for the one-to-one, and because a lot of you have questions around that, I think it'd be really beneficial to attend that, just to get a feel for what's covered in them and how to go about it. I'm just in the normal chat now to make sure I haven't missed anything. But surprisingly, we're on time.
We are with 4 minutes left, Megan. Well done.
My mouth's so dry from talking so much. Greg said, nobody can deal with an issue unless they can recognize there is an issue and can reach out for support. Great advice, Greg. And Greg, also, I highly recommend the hackathon. I attended my first one on May 22nd and learned a lot and networked with others on the same journey and different skill levels that we can learn from each other. Can you attend a hackathon to observe, or are they accept? Noreen asked, can you attend a hackathon to observe, or are you expected to contribute, especially if you are new to coding? Noreen, if you sign up for a hackathon, you have to partake in them and contribute in a way, but you can go to there's usually a panel discussion beforehand, or you can attend the presentation webinar at the end and see how you get on. You can, just look at the projects there and kind of see what they talk about the projects a little bit in the presentation part. So that could be worthwhile you attending, just to get a feel for things before you actually commit to signing up for one. But it doesn't matter how new you are. You could literally be a week into the course and people are signing up for hackathons. So, if that's what's putting you off, don't worry about it. Just go and have a look on that hackathon channel and your worries will soon be non-existent. Blah, blah, blah. Elevate was awesome last year. Such a great atmosphere. I agree. I'm just making sure I haven't missed anything.
I think that's all.
Another great tip from Greg, the employer must invest in order to get a return, a benefit from the employee and the organization. So true. And that's a great note to finish on. Thank you very much, everyone. And thanks for all your questions. And I'm actually really glad we actually got to them all today. But again, if you have any more, please reach out to me on Slack. I'd be more than happy to respond to you guys. But in the meantime, have a great day. Enjoy the lovely sunshine if it's sunny where you are. And make sure to attend on Thursday if you're interested in the one-to-ones. But yeah, thank you so much, Jade, for being
Thank you very much.
And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful week and happy summer, 1st of June. I know it's technically only summer in Ireland, so, but
fingers crossed we get a good summer here.
Well, we're off to a good start anyway.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Talk soon.